Solo here. Going to do a quick VR for, and no, this isn't a Gala VR, this is an actual VR. It's a video response for somebody who asked me to do something for them. And that somebody is London Calling with Simon. And we were on, I think, one of his live chats, and he was talking about making a rustication tool. You've probably seen videos if you're into carving pipes or making pipes of your own, but and he asked, he mentioned something about a rustication tool. He's talking about making one, and I told him, I said, hey, I made one, and the sucker is solid, and I think he thought maybe I was in the process of making one, and kind of wanted to see if I could make it on video as a kind of a how-to, but the reality was is I already made it. I made it several months ago when I first started doing pipes, because I knew I didn't have the right tools to sand everything. So I decided, well, rustication tool, that'll come in handy. So I just finished this one last night. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. There we go. I just finished this rustication last night on a poker that I'm making, and this is one of the Alexander kits, and I've got rustication over the whole thing. I did a little inset on the bottom. It's not perfect, but it's not bad either. I'm going to experiment a little bit with some red stain and black stain to try to make this thing look good. I have yet to sand the stem, and you can see if you look at the stem, you'll see that it's not even. That's okay, I'll even it up when I actually do the sanding on the stem. So this is a work in progress. All right, it's a work in progress, but I did that rustication with this tool right here. It's a 1/2 inch female to female converter for pipe. Get this at Home Depot or at a home improvement store. And a cap, just a cap that'll thread right on there. That'll be in the same aisle as you get the coupler. This is, I think it's called a 1/2 inch coupler. It might be a 1 inch coupler. Either way, you see kind of how big it is. And then I took nails. And I got hardened steel nails, and I thought that was important because I wanted to make sure that it did not have any problems with, you know, because you're putting quite a bit of pressure on these things and you're twisting it into the wood. I wanted to make sure that these things didn't twist. Then I took a sander, and if you look really close, you'll see that each one of these has been ground down to a really sharp point. I'd like to make another one of these and not grind them just to see what kind of difference it makes, but this actually does a pretty good job. And then if you look, there's shiny stuff in here. That shiny stuff is Gorilla Glue. It's not actual Gorilla Glue, it's a 2-part epoxy, so you'll find it in the same place that you find like GB Weld, which you could also use on this. I just, from a brand perspective, I tend to go with Gorilla Glue. And then the other thing that I did, and this is really important if you're using the coupler, because your fingers are going to be, you're going to put this in the palm of your hand, and you're going to press like that and turn, press and turn, press and turn. And that's how you do the rustication. But as you're using this, these threads right here are super sharp. You put your finger on that and that slips, you're going to slice your fingers open. So what I did when I did the epoxy is I let some of the epoxy kind of set up a little bit, so it was a little bit thicker. And this stuff dries in like 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. I let it set up a little bit, and then I spread it over the threads. So this is actually pretty smooth. You can feel a little bit of dimples where the threads are, but it's actually pretty smooth. So it's really simple to make. It took me, I mean, the hardest part was grinding the nails, the rest, and then making sure that the nails were even, because the inside of this cap is a little bit concave. So you got to make sure that those nails in the middle don't go the same way. How I fixed that, or how I made sure that didn't happen, was I put this whole thing together, and before I put the nails in there, I put some of that JB Weld or the two-part epoxy Gorilla glue into the bottom, left it upright, put it in a actually don't have a vise, but I put it in between some stuff to make sure that it stayed upright, so that that stuff would harden flat, right? Because it'll level out and it'll harden flat, and that way I could make sure that all my nails were going to be flat. And you'll also notice real close in between I have that two-part epoxy. So the nail, that epoxy kind of goes all the way up to about here. And what that does is it keeps any of these nails from torquing, right? So, and I'll tell you, this thing is just absolutely solid. It feels good in the hand. It's heavy. It's actually, I think it's a pretty good rustication tool. So, Simon, that's for you. Feel free to leave any comments down in the crankcase below. If you have any questions on how I made it, if you have any questions as you go through that process, if you decide to make one. Like I said, I wouldn't mind doing a little bit of experiment to try a version of that with maybe fewer nails. But like I said, I mean, and I'll see if I can give you a close-up of this. I mean, it does a pretty darn good job of creating a rustication that is pretty nice. I mean, I like it. So, you can say, like I said, it's still a work in progress. But anyway, so that's all I got. I'm gonna go ahead and get back in the house. Actually, I'm gonna finish my pipe, then I'm gonna get back in the house. And that's it. So tonight, nothing else. I am, as far as I know, still Road Glide solely. Keep the rubber side down, folks.